Welcome to Solo Progression, the series where I play through Dungeon Defenders 1 Redux with the goal of beating the crystalline dimension on the hardest difficulty, as well as completing all the achievements. Hey everyone, welcome back to the series. Hopefully you found the first episode enjoyable. For this episode I'm going to take a different approach, and instead of cutting through different parts of the gameplay, I'm going to just speed up the gameplay. Again, I don't think the content itself in terms of Dungeon Defenders gameplay is the most riveting thing. It's kind of just walking around placing towers and waiting for things to die. But I do enjoy the loot progression of the game, so hopefully you can still get that enjoyment of having something to watch in the background, seeing how I play the maps, but in reality this is more for the whole idea of the progression of the series. So starting off today, I wanted to go and try something a little bit different. We went to Foundries and Forges, the second map in the campaign, and we started playing it on Insane. Now, this map is pretty easy, but there is a lack of mana at the start, which is similar to the Dread Dungeon. But there's only 3 paths, which the enemies can come through. Well, I guess technically there's 6, but you want to do it in such a way that you block off the 3 main things to the main pathways to your crystal. And so in the first round, I go around with my Series EV, getting mana, which is probably a mistake. My Series EV is super slow because I have them as the Bounty Hunter one. Skin, I should say, and that makes them slower than the regular one, which I might change in the future, but I don't think it matters too much at the moment. Their casting rate is really low. So what I do is put physical beams up for every lane, and then I had to basically switch right back to my monk so I can get ready for the wave. You'll see I have mostly a time crunch here at end of or between waves where I'm trying to put down enough towers to then switch back to my monk and be able to play as them so I can actually contribute. Part of the issue with this comes along with I want to try to get all my characters out on the field so I can get XP on all of them, but doing that in the last like 10 seconds, you have a chance of when you are adding them back into your game, you might encounter the problem where you add them back to the game and they don't register back in time for that round, so they end up getting no XP, and it just is kind of not ideal for that situation. Another issue too is that during the waves, I guess it's not really too much of an issue, but it's just kind of like a patience issue for me. The waves are very slow on this map, so you'll kill like the first mobs, and then you'll have to kind of like wait for the next wave to kind of appear during the wave, which essentially just adds time to each round, which is just a patience factor for me. You'll notice that in each lane I have set up a aura for strength training auras. This strengthening auras are very useful. They get rid of the element of the enemies. The only other thing that does that, I believe, is the apprentice wall. I believe the blockade. We also have the electric aura and the ensnare aura. These both slow down and just damage enemies over time. These are really useful just getting that AoE damage out. I try to get a firebolt tower or fireball tower. I'm not too sure which it's called in each lane as well because they give pretty great AoE damage. Right now it's kind of meh because just my apprentice does not have very good gear. But hopefully with this map and the next map we do after this, we have better gear to just have a faster firing rate and faster damage. The range on it is getting pretty good, at least from where I'm at in the progression now. Able to hit pretty far away and kill enemies in a couple hits. One of the biggest issues I'm having on harder maps is doing the ogres. The ogres have basically a ton of health, and just having all the archers is it helps, especially when they have like 200,000 health on some of these maps. Having all these archers definitely puts a cut to their plans, I should say, cuts them down, but it's not as good as it could be, and I think I either need to invest in a better single target tower or just get enough AoE damage that I can just have all my AoE towers and all my archers be able to focus on the ogre exclusively. Now I believe in the video we should be getting close to the end of the map, if not on the final wave. The issue with Foundries and Forges is that it's too slow. It's nice to get it done because now I could do survival mode if I so wanted to, but I'm not going to. There's nothing really to gain from this map yet. At some point I want to be getting to do insane survivals on all the maps, trying to get the main goal of the series is to get all the achievements in the game, as well as trying to beat the old one on either Nightmare Hardcore or Ascension Hardcore. Probably both will be difficult, but either way, right now getting to that stage is where I want to get to. And we're not quite there yet, but that's okay. Foundries and Forges was kind of a miss in terms of maps to do, so I am going to go take this max map onto the Dread Dungeon again. This time we're going to try it on medium, so you get more XP, and see how that works out. Now that we're back on Dread Dungeon here, my plan is pretty similar to the first episode where I placed down the Series EV's physical beams and their proton beams, I believe they're called, the damage ones, the first ones. Those are very useful in the start because they give very good DPS, and for being an AoE tower, there's nothing really that competes with those, which is kind of a shame because there is more towers I would like to use, but you really need AoE towers at the start of the game, or until your character is good enough to like hold a lane on its own. Otherwise, you're just going to overrun and not really be able to help. So most of the time, I will be placing down my physical beams because I want to have my monk rush over there to attack the enemies rather than putting down the proton beams. Proton beams, I'm not really a fan of using them. Not because they're strong or anything. I think they are good, but the issue is I just don't prefer them as a tower. I like using auras a lot. I like using the mage towers a lot. I do like using the squire towers a lot too, but I haven't made one of those yet. I probably will at some point. But mostly the squire towers, I like using the harpoon, and that's about it. I think they have a new tower in this mode. I think it's the mortar tower on Redux. Might look into that. I know the Series V also has a SAM unit tower as well, but I don't think you get that until level 40. So can't really use that. As well as, oh, you know what, that might be the Series V. That's probably the, I think the snowball tower for the mage is level 40. One of those. Anyways, using the summoner is also a lot of fun for me too. I was thinking about doing just a summoner only run, but I feel like that would be just not fun after a while, because like I'm sure going through the campaign on summoner only would be a fun challenge, but not nearly as fun as just progressing through the game normally and doing it all in a solo style like this. Now, one of the nice things with Dread Dungeon is that it gives way more XP. It get like pretty great XP. Like I go from level 23 here to, I won't spoil it because it's not quite there yet, but I get to a very decent level just on Dreaded Dungeon on medium. I did have a little bit of trouble, but not like as much as the first time. The first couple attempts where I was losing in the first rounds. It really helps having the monk have a decent weapon. I believe we got a better weapon at the end of Foundries and Forges, so I have a bit more melee damage. I'm going to focus him on melee damage right now on his weapons just because I need to clear out enemies, and I don't have access right now to a good range weapon, and having the melee weapon is just kind of nice. I like the melee attacks on the monk a lot, so that's really good. You'll see here too on the first couple rounds, I like to get all my Series V stuff and then play as the monk. During the rounds, I like to get down all my auras if possible, and that leads me to my next point is that there's not really enough mana to do all I want. Especially in the first round, because like you just don't get mana from, you get just the chest mana, which is like nothing under a dungeon. So the goal at some point is getting a genie. What genies do is a pet, or genie is a pet, and what it does is that you gain back mana when you attack things, which is super useful in the monk. Because the monk has both its tower boost and hero boost, which both drain your mana. So if you are constantly refreshing your mana, you basically have this infinite mana pool and boosting your towers and yourself all at the same time, which is super convenient. I want to get that at some point, as well as just having enough mana at the end of the first round to be able to build every defense I need to build for the next round. And doing that during the wave 2 helps a lot. That's why I want to like casting rate up on all these characters, especially the monk, because having extra, getting all my auras up before the end of each wave on harder difficulties when there is a time limit between waves is going to be super convenient, because now I don't have to waste my time building the auras during the end of the wave, whereas I can just build them during the round and then switch to another character and place down towers at the defense building phase. So I don't want the series to become a spam Dreaded Dungeon series, because this map is really good, is what I'm learning. But I think what I plan to do is probably going to try to do the campaign on Insane Hardcore throughout all of it. See if I can beat the bosses. I might need to actually specifically make a new monk or change Leon to be a DPS monk rather than a aura monk, or kind of a hybrid right now. This is just due to the fact that killing bosses on higher difficulties, you just need a damaged character, and I don't really have that at the moment. So that's one of the things I want to look forward to. Another thing I want to get is get just pets in general for my other builders. I do want to get the new genie for the monk, of course, but getting a just any stat stick sort of pet for my builders would be very useful. Just having, like, you know, the summoner can get 2 pets if you're not familiar. So I know back in the day we used to get giraffes on a treadmill, and that is something that you get at the, I believe on wave 25 on survival on normal maps. I know it's different for other maps, but at some point I do want to do that. I don't think I'll do it on the lower difficulties because it's just going to take so much time and just give me a pretty crappy pet. And I can also look through the shops at the end of the rounds too to see if I get anything that looks decent enough to use. But for now, I'm not too worried about the pets, but I do want to get them. I want to increase my casting rate on each one of my characters. Right now they are very slow. I think my Series V is literally at 0. So I don't cast anything very fast on harder difficulties or during the round, which doesn't matter too much during the round because I'm not playing as them. But it's still one of those things you want to have on every character just so you can build things at the start of each wave, get things done, get things out. But for the most part, casting rate needs to be probably like... I would want to aim for level 100 on each character, or 100 points in each character on the casting rate, just so building things is just super fast. But it doesn't matter on lower difficulties too much, which I might have to stick to. But I do want to try different maps other than Dreaded Dungeon, of course, because this map just seems a little too strong. That said, I might try some of the DLC maps. I think I might want to try King's Game on easy or medium and see how that works. I don't know if I can beat the Jesu quite yet with my stats, but it would be a fun challenge. There is some other things I want to prioritize, too. I need to get some better gear on my Apprentice. While I'm only placing down 3 Firebolt Towers a game, it looks like, or just 1 in each lane, those Firebolt Towers are super convenient for dealing with the mobs versus the Archers. The Archers have a difficult time just dealing with all... they have more trouble dealing with a lot of enemies, because they don't pierce, they only hit 1 enemy. And if I had Fireball Towers to get rid of all those weak guys, and then have my Archers focus on like the Orcs, the Ogres, any of the stronger enemies, it'll make my life a lot easier, because I can just focus on those big enemies rather than having to clear out the smaller waves and having to have my Archers waste their shots on the minions that will die in one hit, and they have 6 of them shooting at once. It's kind of inconvenient. And you'll see between each wave, hopefully you can keep up with all the fast-paced action in the background with I think it's about 4 times speed I have it set to. But at the end of each wave right now, I'm checking for gear upgrades, just because the gear you get from this is pretty decent. I've seen a couple Gali pieces, which I can't use Gali armor until level 60, but it is something to work towards, I guess. And the pieces aren't bad. I noticed from the chest, I don't really get anything good, but from the enemies' drops, I'll usually find something that's decent. So I'll be looking at those between each of the rounds. I know at the end here I spend quite a while just looking at the everything that's on the ground, so I take a little bit of time here just to make sure I get everything I want. Make sure to kind of meticulously look at every single item to make sure that if it's not good on my character right now, which is Leon, the monk, who is kind of built different than other characters, that I can pick something up, give it to someone else, and see how much it improves their stats. I know at the end of this, we get to around level 35, sorry, spoilers, but yeah, so we get about 35, get pretty decent gear on everyone, nothing like amazing. I think a couple items give just over plus 10 double digits in just like defense attack, defense range, or speed. Very useful stats. I know my Series V ends up with quite a high number of defense health, which is going to be super useful because I'm going to use them mostly for blockades for the start. I might start putting points into their damage just so they're buff beams, which is probably the best part of the Series V in my opinion, is that they can buff the other towers. Those buff beams scale pretty well with all their stats. They scale with defense health, defense tower damage, defense range, and defense rate. All these are same as when you look at the Series EV when you're leveling up their stats, they'll say like their shock beam, stun duration, a little bit different, but it still increases range on their buff beams that they give to other towers. None other things increase their range because they just increase. You can't increase the length past the max you can give. They just cost more DU depending how long the towers are. Anyways, at some point I want to get pretty good stats on my Series V just so they can buff my other towers better. And that's kind of going to be a lengthy process, but at some point you don't need too good a stats investment to get those buff beams to be decent. Like, I think they can do... they can basically just multiply your damage by just ridiculous numbers at some point later in the game. But yeah, you'll see here, I'm just looking through some of the equipment I got. You can see some of the pieces I'm getting, or I've gotten the chain bracers you get at the end of this map. I think I got one that was pretty good that I put on someone. You also see here that all my characters are around level 36, 35. I believe here at the end I will show the stats of each of the characters. But that's going to do it for this episode of Solo Progression. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you like this new format more, where I'm talking over the videos and having them just sped up so you see exactly what I'm doing rather than just bits and pieces of what I'm doing. I think that'll make it easier to watch, easier to digest. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. I will see you guys in the next episode. I think we will be trying out Magic Citadel? I think so. On Insane. And then after that, I will be trying some other maps. I think I might try Dread Dungeon on Insane. Not too sure yet. And I do want to try King's Game. So yeah, enjoy. See you guys.